medical.
Hang on here a minute.
I don't know, I haven't used it yet. So
Like, that is something that they should do.
That's not my head, so now I don't have anything in my head.
It's pretty fast.
Okay. I was going to look at, did you, or do you want to have it? Oh, this is it. I think it's almost time to start. John was really gonna do this, so I was thinking, okay, I don't have to prepare too much. I welcome everybody, I appreciate you coming. What we thought we would do is just, go through the points to ponder. It is, as someone said, it's a point of view, it's our point of view. And, just read through those. I know you can read, but sometimes people tend not to read things. So I'll just read through that, and then you can maybe think of questions or things you would like to say after that. This is a civil discussion, I hope, and talking about the district. I've had a very difficult time wrapping my head around all of this. And I've literally spent hours talking to people to try and understand the whole bond issue thing. And it's very difficult. I'm not an accountant. I'm actually, I'm a musician. I would consider myself to be a musician and a performer at this point. So, I gotta take my, hot. Okay. So, points to ponder. This is a tax increase. Before I start that, it's like it was in the newspaper and it got my attention immediately when it said it's a no tax increase. It's like it's two negatives or one positive, one negative. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So, here we go. This is a tax increase, not a vertical one, but a horizontal one. What does that mean? It's deceptive language, no tax increase bond issue. It's a tax you have been paying on for many years. And if they would not have done a refinance, and they being the school, they could have called it this year, meaning they could have paid off this old debt in 2024. Now they wish to continue or extend this another 20 years. When these bonds are purchased, the interest is front-loaded like all loans. The amount that you are paying is larger than the principal for the first 6 years. On the 7th year, the principal is larger than the interest, but only by $100,000, not quite $100,000. Taking this into consideration, the monthly payment on this loan will be $94,897.41 per month for the life of the loan. By the end of the 7th year, you have only gained a little more than 1 month's payment. Where does the extra revenue go then? It is built in an account waiting, either for the call date where they can make their first principal payment without penalty, a refinance, or a new bond. Currently, the community pays $1.5 million into this project bond debt. The superintendent stated that there was only one bond. In 2017, according to the Missouri Auditor's Bond Registration Report, they did an advanced refund of $5.445 million with a remaining nearly $6 million to be paid. Superintendent also stated that there was a $5 million left to pay on the bond. So it's like you vote on a $5 million bond, but you pay a lot more than that over time. The question would be, how much is waiting in a separate account in this project levy fund? According to the 2017 report, they can call this payoff in 2027 for a 2028. So this is the question you need to ask. If you would like to talk to Dr. Hardy, I know that she said anyone could call her. You could ask her how much is in that fund. And maybe that isn't even the right question. What I have found, I keep keep asking questions, I get one answer, and then I realize I still don't know anything, and I need to ask another question. So, when our property taxes go up, for example, your car, anyone notice how much your car went up this year? A lot. If it's 5 years, or if it's less, it's 5 years or younger, then you're gonna pay a lot more on it than if it was, over 5 years. Your home, the amount allotted for these project levies, which is 67 cents. In your case, it will build faster then, because everything keeps going up. For example, you can go home, look at your DESI website, look under reports and resources for the increased property tax you now pay for your school. You would scroll down toward the bottom of the page for local tax effort here as follows. And then it states in 2016 to 2017 data for 2017 to 2018, $6,840,119.41. In 2021, the data used in the 21-22 calculation was $7,877,122.18. Over the 5-year period of local tax revenue for your schools, now this is what has increased. The school district gets more, $1,037,002, and I'm not sure if that number is even a little higher.
1 billion.
That's what I say.
1 billion, not 1 million.
I thought I said million.
You said billion, it's a billion.
It's billion. Billion.
Wait a minute.
It's gotta be, it's gotta be a typo, that should be a billion.
Mine has a million.
Yeah.
$1,037,002, period, 77. There might have been some, yeah.
That's what mine is.
Okay, schools and municipalities are to reduce their, now this I thought was interesting, the person that has researched this for quite a while, not just in multiple schools. Schools and municipalities are to reduce their levies against your property tax when they receive large increases in revenue from increases in values. Your tax rates have not though been reduced. This is dishonest practice and is frowned upon by the state auditor and county assessor and collector alike. This is just a local increased property tax revenue. This bond does not include the following. It doesn't include at least 3.1 million bailout funds Gastonade R2 has received or may be receiving. It doesn't include lottery funds for schools and the extra that start this year. An additional 37,767,000. Well, we don't get all that. We get a portion of that. So what portion Owensville schools will receive of that, you'll have to ask them, because it's hard to find these things. It doesn't include 7 million in state revenue. Gastonade R2 school receives 7 million in state. Doesn't include the general federal funds. Doesn't include the additional online sales tax revenue that started this year too. So like we get 1% from sales tax at Walmart, 1% grocery, and 1% from now the use tax, I call it. For the average taxpayer, it's anywhere from $200 to $500 of excess tax debt levied between your homes and car. Under this disguise of a no tax increase, if it was paid off then in the future, they not only would have to say it's an increase, but they would have to disclose how much of an increase and how long, making it harder for them to be deceptive. Moving funds around from levied project amount to operational without your knowledge or consent, because there is no contract stated amount promised when it's in a continuation. I call it rolling over these bonds. This tax is lumped together, project and operational, on your statements. So you're none the wiser when they do this. So there was a question, why wasn't the Performing Arts Center split on the ballot from their wants and from needs? There seems to be some needs that are going on, but some things in this economy right now seem like they're wants, they're just wants. The Performing Arts Center alone is about 10 million of this proposed debt that is for school use, not community use. The wording is deceptive because it is for the community to participate in the school events and could even be charged to participate in these events. I called Dr. Hardy last week to see if she would come. She was out of the office, and today she called me back, and she said that they would not be attending this meeting because she wasn't here to debate this issue. But I told her we weren't here to debate, we just were trying to ask questions, find out information. So, the Performing Arts Center, Dr. Hardy said that people could probably rent that if it was built. If you were bringing in some kind of an artist or group, you could rent it. And then there would be a fee for the cleaning fee, that's what she said. So, this building will also put more financials. This is a real important one, I think. So, you get this new building, but here's something that people don't often think about. This building will also put more financial stress on school, repairs, maintenance, heating, air. The more you have, the more you have to maintain. Are there enough classified staff to take care of the cleaning upkeep now? How many students are involved in theater that this would benefit? I would imagine some of the students kind of keep, if they're in spring shows, they're in fall shows. I'm not sure if they get 2 shows a year or exactly what they do. So to give you an idea of our average on how much it will cost each home or car owner for just the Performing Arts Center, it's over $2,000, and that's on the low side. With a mortgage calculator on the interest of 4.5%, what it is currently at 15 million, the interest alone came out to $7,775,377.54, and I had an accountant recheck that for me, and that was accurate. Who paid for the signs around town? I don't know exactly what their title was, but whoever was contracting for the project, those funds were used for the project plans. So the school can't pay for signs around town. Okay, so that's a conflict of interest. So they can't do it, but the people that, I'm assuming they hired them because I don't know that they would work for free. So if they're putting signs around town, then it seems to me vicariously, we're paying for it anyway. But, I could be wrong on that information, I don't know. So vicariously through the contractor taxpayer funds were used to tell people to vote yes for this project levy bond to continue or add debt for another 20 years. Bond project levies are for building new schools during population increases. Maintenance, that is beyond their budget, but they have become something they were never meant to be. That is keeping up with the Joneses, keeping them going indefinitely on the community in perpetuity. It begs the question of how many things or projects do they already have the funds for? Putting it on the ballot under safety and security and expansion of facilities where the schools self-admittedly claim a reduction in students and decreased enrollment. These are all things to think about before you vote. And I don't know if they have I haven't received a flyer in the mail about this, but I know a few friends of mine or people that I've talked to, they don't have a clue that there's even a bond issue out there. And so, one of our community members, he went over there today, and how many of you have seen this? This is, it says local postal customer, it's Performing Arts Center. I hadn't seen a picture of it, and so they actually have these at the admin building. So if you want one, I guess you have to go get it, but they haven't come in the mail,
Yeah.
and I don't know, about meetings, so.
Typically, they don't want to distract you, they want to remind you a few days before, so Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the Monday to remind you to go Tuesday. They don't put it out there multiple weeks ahead, because it's a see it and forget. It's a reminder just prior to the election.
2 to 3 days.
Yes,
I know there's one side back behind Owensville, on Cuba Street, I call it. It faces Cuba, it's near, Joust Tire,
Springfield, that's on Springfield.
yeah.
Yeah, I've
But
seen-
it doesn't, it's not like that one, it just says vote yes for the bond issue.
oh, for a sign?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I've seen a few of them around, yeah. Yes,
Those flyers will not be handed out probably until about 2 to 3 days before the election.
well, the election's Tuesday, so it'd have to be
Next
Friday,
Tuesday.
Saturday, wait a minute, is it next
It's
week?
next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday,
Next
so
Tuesday.
there's Monday, Saturday, Friday, is that right, Mr. Postman?
That's correct. Does that flyer have pre-sorted standard, or how is it?
I'll
take a
let you
peek
look
that.
at it, cause I didn't know, maybe I thought I could put these in the mail and send them around to people.
Yeah, this is an every door direct mailing that probably will come out in the next couple days.
Look and see,
Yeah, but apparently the postal service hasn't received them yet.
It's got a bulk mail rate on it.
Well, they don't wanna put them out too soon, because everybody will forget about them.
okay,
true.
Carol?
yes.
When we're talking about the others, the pro, has there been any opposition? Signage put up, anything to suggest a different point of view on this? All
No.
I've seen is, vote for it, everything that's been in support of it, but there's been I've seen no signage, no commentary against it.
There isn't, and I thought about trying to make my own sign maybe, and I just haven't done it. But it's like, we would have to make our own signs. Anyone good sign makers in here?
But it may not, it doesn't need to be some sexy, cool sign, it may just be at this point, because we're just a week out, right? It needs to be an overwhelming kind of effort, it doesn't need to be a homemade sign, right? Just get the word out that, hey, we don't buy this. I mean, it seems like they're trying to sneak this through, they presented this with a head nod, right? And they haven't come out and said, this is the benefits for the kids, we've looked at the options. The only option they looked at was committing everybody to a longer tax period. They didn't put any effort, they didn't put any shoulder to this, they haven't even come out to try and sell it. They're just trying to hoodwink this through, so I would think if there's just a loud conversation, or a stirring conversation that just started about it, that would help, because we only have 7 days to knock this down.
Well, as long as I've been here, I've, never had a conversation with the community on anything about school. And so I think that there's a disconnect between school and the community people. And I think it isn't, what Rob has said is extremely important, that we need that conversation going on. And I know there's some Gerald people here, and they probably have a different point of view, since they're in a different county, Franklin County,
Well,
just
the
saying.
school isn't, the school is still part of Gaston County.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
Just a couple comments. I mean, I'm certainly for it.
I know.
For a lot of different reasons.
You wanna live with your wife, right?
I know, I mean, that's, yeah, you know that side of it.
Right, I do.
My wife's a retired school teacher, in performing arts. I was in band, I wasn't a jock, we've got 5 or 6 gymnasiums that are expensive to build and operate. We've got a very expensive football field, baseball field, that's all great. None of us want to get rid of that. I doubt if anybody would say get rid of that, that would be poo-poo. a lot of kids. A couple things, the deceptive language thing, that's fine if you wanna say that, but I don't think it's purposely deceptive. I remember would this be the third? Is it the second? I'm gonna
I
say
think
no
it's
increase, but I think it's the second one. But I think the same language was used the last time. It was a no tax increase, and I agree 100%. It extends it to 2044. That's just the way it is. But I think, that's the language the state puts out when schools run bond issues. That's a no tax increase bond issue. You're extending that debt. And I also understand the interest. We've all bought cars and houses and look at what you pay in interest on a house over 30 years and go, my gosh. So I understand that. You have to look at that, but I don't see that as a huge negative on the other side of it. And I also think it's not only the Performing Arts Center. There's an increase in the technical vocational school part of it. And somebody posted, I saw a flyer about posting what our kids' test scores are. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I wasn't the smartest, sharpest knife in the box either with different things. And if it had been counseled properly and had greater technical schooling, I might have went a completely different path, I don't know. So I think that's a plus we haven't talked about tonight that's gonna be increased. And I also saw on the flyer something about safety, and the flyer said, guess what their priority is? Like, safety's not a priority. Well, I will tell you, I've been on the long-range planning committee for the last few years for the school, and safety's a huge priority, and there's things that absolutely have to be done with this money, school safety wise, and I'm confident they will. I can't say it will be done, I'm not a school administrator, but I think they'll be done. And I respect everybody's opinion here.
As far as the VOTEC, isn't that why we offer RALA, so that people can get that step up to go for those 2-year colleges? And everybody's entitled to work in the RALA VOTEC and use the bus that route. And does that cost, versus building a new building and hiring more teachers here in Owensville? I get what you're saying, that it does increase that tech part of it, but they already have something that these kids can do to increase their college that's already offered under the plan that we have currently in place.
And Brad, I don't disagree with what you said about, maybe, you said you don't like the word deceptive, and that's fine. But I think it's fair to say that they haven't presented this in good faith. They didn't come forward and say, we have a need for experiences for our children, yada, yada. This is what the need is. Okay, one way we could solve this is go through $15 million of the problem. We've looked at this option. We could repurpose some assets that are in the community already to split the baby, say, okay, we need a performance art. They didn't do anything, and I think that's the bad taste that is put in people's mouth. And the other issue is we don't know what's around the corner. Okay, we're getting hooked for this Performing Arts Center, but then you probably know better than we would, what else is out there that we're, just the day-to-day operations of school. The other thing that I brought up, I think Carol better lit, you spend $15 million, that asset's not gonna take care of itself. We're gonna hire, I'd say, just take $15 million times 7% as the operating expense to maintain that asset. None of this stuff is getting talked about, and I think people just feel a little insulted by the way it's being pursued. I know this one does.
I don't know how many, I know I've been to two, I won't say community events, but Dr. Hardy came to Lions Club, made a presentation to us about, I think she met with a group in Gerald, I think she met with the Chamber of Commerce, but I don't know if there were any advertised public, open forums for people to present.
Well, when they advertised it, they didn't really bring it out clean. We're gonna get this 15 million in no tax increase, just like it's gonna be.
I don't recall seeing what was in the paper, so I have to look at it.
See what it says.
Well, were there any community, I honestly don't know if there was.
She came to the Republican meeting, but that was a very short notice, to be honest with you. And I don't know if she can write that off and say, hey, I gave a public
I will
presentation.
tell you, I know she's willing to do it at any time. I know she didn't come tonight, The flyer that got circulated around and prepared by Timmy Chonga, and I don't know if Timmy Chonga's here tonight, I'd like to know who Timmy Chonga is. That's the Facebook profile, but anyway, I think she felt like it might be a little bit of a hostile environment, maybe, I don't know, I didn't talk to her.
But, I don't know, you just, you know, I'm just gonna say, the other thing, what I recall about the paper is what was on the front page, and I think what was, what impressed me, the first things I read, like when you read something, the first thing that impresses you is what you read first, was the comparables. You know, we went to all these different school districts under the guise of, we wanna make sure we don't encounter the problems, which I'm sure, okay, that's good, but are we doing what's in here? Are we just doing this because everybody else has a combo performing arts center / storm shelter? It just, again, the word that comes to mind is good faith. This just doesn't seem to be presented in good faith, and I'm just gonna stand on that and stop.
One other person back, in the back row.
Oh, I patiently waited. I'm Rick Hardy and I teach skilled technical science at the high school.
Oh, okay.
I've been here 7 years and Dr. Hardy's my wife, so we'll just get that
Oh,
right on out.
okay.
So,
I know the
Thanks for coming.
first of all, when somebody creates a form like this and it's under a fictitious name, don't expect important people to show up. The Timmy Chonga deal is like, who is this? I mean, that, you talk about deceptive, that's really deceptive. But she is willing to meet. You can come to her office, just like the gentleman you spoke about today, whoever that was. You can call, set up a time and sit down and she'll explain it to you. But if I understand right, there's like a long-range committee. Since I've been here, we've been here 7 years. She started out as the assistant superintendent in this district. And since the first 2 weeks I've been here, I've heard about this performing arts center from people I met in the community. Endless. For 7 years, that's all I've heard about. I'll be honest with you, I'm a sports guy, but I work with these kids. We just had a young lady who won an $84,000 scholarship for performing arts. That's amazing. We don't even have a performing arts center. Then, when I hear the language like keeping up with the Joneses, I hope you guys don't take this wrong, but the people that take care of your school district take care of your finances very, very well. It's all in, under the desk and all that. You can go find them finances. We've had different school board members while I've been here, and like I said, they are very efficient with your money. But the Performing Arts Center as well, can I see that flyer that you just showed? So when you ask about Rolla, it's very expensive to send kids to Rolla, but that's not, if that's their opportunity, then that's what we need to do. So, I'm the only guy in the state of Missouri through DESE teaching skilled technical science. They chose Owensville to come put this program in place. And what it is, we have kids showing up because they don't learn this stuff at home no more. They don't learn to read tape measures. They don't learn how to read meters. I went to Fort Osage, spent several different times at Fort Osage as my mentor was there, and I walked into a junior class at one of them career tech centers. A junior class had 18 students. It was 18 of the best they took. And they choose from, I don't want to throw a number out there, they choose from several hundred kids, and this was the best 18. They were teaching them how to take a drill and screw it into wood. And this is the best 18 they took to be in the automotive program. That's where I came from. I went to Nashville Auto Diesel College when I got out of school. So that's my background, and when I see this, now I understand why Desi is saying, hey, we gotta help these people. We gotta help these young people. So that's me. It gives my class 2 classrooms in this bond. That's where it falls with me. And if you look at it, it's right here. It says Career Tech. It's there and there. So I actually teach screen printing. We went from 5 kids in that class last year. We just done this enrollment last week. Now we have 32 kids going to be in that class. That's a skill these kids can walk out of here and go to work. At Bourbon, there's a huge place that runs screen printing. There's several screen printing shops at Rolla. So I know everybody grabbed traction with the Performing Arts Center, but there's a lot of other stuff in there. The safety is major to me, super major to me. where less than people that's in Nashville, Tennessee today, because I'm telling you, I come from a community where school shootings was very, very close. And, the school that my wife graduated from had a school shooting where a kid lost his life. So it's very important to me that our school safety amps up here. Yes, is it thrown under the Performing Arts Center? I guess it is. I don't know how all that works, but I just wanna open people's eyes that there's more than the Performing Arts Center. But I can also ask you, how many of you has ever went to a play? We have some phenomenal kids. Speaking of Gerald, we had 7 kids from Gerald Elementary that went to Beta. First time, we just created this club. We went to Beta, 7 of them, 4 of them won to go to the Nationals, I believe. We had 2 high school kids that won to go to the Nationals. We have to invest in our young people, and it might be $15 million. It might cost us a little more, it might not cost us a little more, but what I see is people think their taxes are gonna go down. Like, when taxes went up, I had to pay the same property tax you guys did, and when it come in, I was like, But the school didn't make that go up, that's through the assessor's office and all that, that's their business, so I hate to see that there's a bad rip between the community and the school when, I'm telling you right now, my wife ain't going to see nobody, she's as straightforward as you come. And then when we get a flyer thrown out there with them scores are ridiculous too. There's another place for them scores.
Well, you know what, then, we make it twice as big, look how good we'd be.
Twice as big, I'm just.
Oh, hell, let's go for the top.
But the thing is, you guys act like, you say keeping up with the Joneses. And I probably shouldn't even say this, but the thing about it is, you know why me and my wife stay in Owensville? Because we love the community.
Yes.
Do you pay an extreme amount? Do you pay an extreme amount for the positions? No, you don't. You pay good, but there's a lot better out there, but, it's important to me and my wife that when we see people in the community, we love the community. This community loves their school for the most part. I hate to see that people are wanna take taxes and blame it one way or another. I mean, somebody has to invest in these young people.
I don't think anybody's saying that, I think what we're saying though
Thank you.
is that
Thank you, I agree.
there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so to bundle all this stuff in, and to not in good faith say, you know, we have the option to do this, and if we do this, this is going to commit your taxes another 20 years or whatever the number is, okay? That could have been done, that, again, I'm talking about, you go around and you talk, I would phrase it as it just leaves a bad taste in people's
So let
mouths.
me ask you
And
this.
so, why can't we do this a little bit more problem solving approach versus just throwing it all under one umbrella and saying like it or lump it?
So it's not like you're lumpy, you get to vote on it, the way I look at it, but let me ask, Brad touched on something a while ago about the language used, and that language comes through your legislature. That's how that stuff has to be put on there. The school district didn't make that up. There's language that has to be used. And I'm not from here 7 years, but I believe this bond deal's happened a couple times, so did they do that the last 2 times?
Yes.
The same,
And
so what happened?
and nobody took time to research it or came out and talked to us about it. So here we are, strike number 3.
No, I disagree. Back when Gib Walmsley was superintendent then, he did all kinds of, I remember going to the gymnasium and there were 250 people there presented there. He did community presentations,
Right.
several of them, and I sat in on it. So he absolutely reached out to the community. That was not slid under anybody's.
Sam, would you?
Yeah, I have something I just simply want to inject in here and just get back to basics on this whole thing, and that is the fact that this is a very interesting time to want to do all this stuff when we're in an unstable economy. Inflation is through the roof. We have banks failing, and I guarantee you that interest is going to be a lot more on this than it would have been had this been done like back in 2004 or 2002 or something like that.
Yeah.
So the problem I have with this is that as a person, now I don't own personal property as far as vehicles is concerned, but we do own a house here in Owensville. And we have a lot of seniors that don't even use the school. And they're forced to pay in on this too. And this is one of the reasons I have a problem with the way schools are taxpayer funded in the first place. Because you don't have once this thing is in place, you don't have a say so. I mean, you don't pay your taxes and the first thing you know, you got the sheriff on your doorstep kicking you out of the house. And somehow I have a problem with this whole concept. So it's just getting back to basics on this before we debate all the merits of whether we need it or not. That's a problem for me right at the get-go.
I don't know, I bet there's no one in this room that says they wouldn't like to have that picture I showed you. I would like to have this. And so after listening to Sam, that's my point. It's not that I don't want this. I don't think it's the right time to have something like this. That I wish they would have maybe did only the things that were really needed right now and keep the community involved. And maybe down the road, I think it's gonna take a while for this economy to turn around though. Yes, Kaylin.
So, a couple of my concerns. We talk about safety and that this is gonna be a storm shelter. When was safety in consideration when MoDOT did a study of adding a turning lane in front of the high school, and it was denied by the school to add that? I mean, isn't that safety?
Be a question for school administration, I don't know.
My understanding is it would have not cost the school much to do that. MoDOT had said it was needed and necessary. I know I have a friend that got in a wreck last year in front of school because of the turn in, turn out. So, if safety is an issue, why didn't we start there? Also, we wanna talk about the scores and how they're trash. Let me give you a personal experience of mine. I have 3 students in OES. I have one student who struggled, who couldn't read for 3 years. It wasn't until this year, with the help of a very amazing private tutor that I have to privately fund myself because the school doesn't offer any services to help my daughter. Not only that, but then her amazing teacher, that she can now start reading. I brought forth these concerns for 3 years and nobody listened. We want to add a performing arts center and you want to say the scores are trash, but we have kids who are literally being pushed through the school system who cannot read and who are not passing. I understand that performing arts and sports, my grandfather was the first marching band director in Owensville, so do not come at me with I don't have an appreciation for the arts, because I do, and I understand my grandpa helped lots of students and had a heart to help a lot of people. However, we have to, if kids can't read, then we're not setting them up to go out in the future and be able to fill out applications, to have jobs, to commit and give back to our communities. I mean, our priorities are a little bit wrong here. My kid can't perform or can't be in performing arts or in music if she can't read.
Amen.
Thank you.
I will, real quick, oh, sorry, go ahead. Let
There
them
was
go.
one gentleman, and was it both of you? Take your pick.
The school's purse will never run empty because the taxing authority knows it has planted people, and I don't mean planted as far as a pro or a con, but they have planted people that cannot pull up their roots and move to a location where there's lower taxes. Taxation follows the people. If you're sparsely populated, that taxing authority recognizes that you can only get so much fruit off the tree. But when you hire somebody for $1 amount, they are paid because they come in. They sell a product. They get paid whether or not the bond gets paid, passed, or otherwise. It is a business. That's why they recruit by performance orientation. They don't just go to the phone book and pick out AAA tax bond salesmen. They do their own research at hand because nobody wants to invest throwaway money to harvest nothing. So I understand the issue of having buildings or programs, But when things start going south, that taxing authority, they're not gonna let it go bankrupt. And in the process of things being denied, if you're not being met on wages, teachers fly. I personally know a teacher that did work for the school district here, but they moved to Washington. She claims it wasn't over wages, but she had 12 years in this system. She goes to Washington and they give her $5,000 more. Now, why is that? Because Franklin County taxes, has a bigger tax base, has more property taxes through commercial, residential, industrial, you name it. So when your purse is bigger, you can offer more things. When your purse starts shrinking because people go to school here, they get a good education, and then they say, the fruit to be picked, the most ripe fruit is 2 counties over, a bigger metropolitan area. They take them and their budding procreativeness, future children, and they take them and move to a different district. So it's a bittersweet program in the sense that you invest in a school building or a program or teachers, and then when your population starts dwindling or your tax base starts dwindling because people who can afford it pick up and move away, you're left with the product that has to be paid for. The taxing authority recognizes that the product has to be paid for, and thus every 2 years they make an assessment on your taxes. When I moved to Franklin County and bought my house, it was appraised roughly $175,000. I've been there since '04. That taxing authority now claims that my residence is $255,000. I don't see that profit, and I don't believe that if I put a for sale sign on my property, that it would merit that kind of selling price, especially in today's market. So, taxing authorities never run out of money because it's your money.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
And presentation never changes because they pay to buy the best.
Yeah, right.
What, you were next.
I was just gonna simply make a comment after listening to this tonight. I have been a proponent for the 32 years that we moved our business here in the industrial park to be a member or be a part of the school district. I remember years ago working on the A+ program. And my personal life, I didn't even complete high school. And I went to trade school. And what aggravated me back then about the A+ program, we're not all rocket scientists. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need some people with the basics. And we're not all qualified to be rocket scientists anyway.
One size does not fit all.
So, and a lot of the trades pay remarkably. This evening, I would hope that the gentleman doesn't take away from this group that there are people in this room tonight that are opposed to the school. I don't think anyone here is opposed to students in furthering their education or their values. We're all here and we adore our children, and our children are our future. Guys like me, I'm on my way out. I'm relying on the future for my continuation. So I hope that the school district doesn't think this is some group that organized that's against the school. I think that's the furthest thing, hopefully, from everybody's mind. I know it is mine. But reality does have to come in play. And yes, you're right, the state garnishes and says it's a no tax increase. That's a true statement. I guess what you're hearing this evening is it's kind of deceptive in the manner that Yes, you can make that statement, just like you can take a word and it has multiple meanings. You can take that statement, and it's a true statement, but it's a deceptive statement to some, because if it wasn't stated in that manner, and they said, well, if we do not pass this continuance, it goes away, your tax rate goes down 67 cents per hundred, and when you're an industrial owner of an industrial and manufacturing operation, I don't even want to tell you what I pay in real estate taxes to the school district. 67 cents per hundred doesn't sound like a lot. But if you're paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in real estate taxes, start doing the math. Now, on the other side, it doesn't, I mean, we try to factor that into the cost of doing business. No differently than everyone sitting here has to factor in their budget if they're on any type of job, any type of retirement. I mean, you have to factor in what your costs are. The thing that it's a dicey situation, we all think we can just simply pass the buck forward. I can speak personally from manufacturing. We don't have that option of calling up a customer and saying, starting tomorrow, I gotta raise your part costs by X factor, and they just accept it. It is very hard to pass any kind of increase onto the consumer or to any OEM when you're in manufacturing. Every penny, half a penny, a tenth of a penny counts. And so, again, it's just kind of deceptive because 67 cents would be going away, and everyone who does that knows how much harder it is to come back in 2 years and ask you for a 67 cent per hundred increase. It's harder to say it's a no tax increase, or easier, should I say, to say it's a no tax increase than it is to say, I'm here today asking for your support, please give me a 67 cents per hundred increase. So I guess, and with the times we're in, is probably why the people that are here this evening have questions. But again, I guess I'll go back to, I don't think anyone here though is against our kids or against the school district. It's a matter of, is the timing right? Can we afford it? And what will it do to everybody's life going forward in today's time? Because we are in a shaky environment. I mean, I'm in manufacturing. I don't know what to expect next month. You know, if one of the banks collapse, I mean, it's a scary time we're in.
If a bank collapses and then you stop.
And if I got, and that's where I do my banking.
And you go under, do we get money from you?
No.
I have a question for you. Do the banks, when they, let's pretend they take your property, are they gonna pay taxes now, what you were paying on that property?
No.
Okay.
Assessed values is a really a interesting thing. Assessed values are kind of like a financial statement. A financial statement can be derived many ways. Assessed values are derived in many ways. If you have a building and it's been vacant for a year or 2 years, the assessed value of that building depreciates, comes way down. If it's got an operating business in it, then all of a sudden the value goes up because it has a higher value. Because you can show that it's got an income stream. No different than if you buy a house and you're looking for rental property, and you buy a house and they say, well, we want $200,000 for that house. And you're like, let me think about this. I gotta go to the bank. What's the loan? But they say, we can guarantee you'll have a renter in there for 5 years on a 5-year lease. Changes everything. Changes everything. Because now you have a guaranteed income stream. All of a sudden you go to the bank and you say, hey, I want to borrow $200,000 to buy this house. And they're like, well, what are you going to put up for collateral? No. And you go, yeah, but here's a contract. I got a 5-year lease where somebody's committed to rent that for 5 years. bank looks completely differently at it. So that's all my comment.
Billy, thank you very much.
Okay, well, this decision, whether we're for or against the kids, we've only got three kids.
I understand.
But we have 9 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren,
I understand.
and we started with, and the thing is the only thing I state is, I wanna leave a world that's still halfway stable.
I'm with you.
Or, then I wasted, all my training, schooling, and 26 years to the military, 30 years to the state of Missouri. And I worked my you-know-what off.
Exactly.
So I am financially secure. And the other thing is, and some of us go at it a lot different. I only finished the 9th grade,
I understand.
but I have 5 or 6 college degrees.
I understand.
I went in and lied to, went with military academy and told them I graduated out of Highline High, one of the biggest schools in the state of Washington. It took them 9 months to catch me in my lie. They
He's
called
smart,
me
he's
into
very
their office.
smart.
They called me into their office and they says, well, you lied to us. And I says, yeah, I did. I says, what's gonna happen? They says, well, normally we'd say goodbye, but it's kinda hard to tell a straight A student that they're not smart enough.
I understand completely. Only
So-
point I was trying to make was, it was being stated.
What I'm saying is that I was also real property management in part of my employment with the state of Missouri, for the state, and I helped 3 other states take care of theirs.
Understand?
Now, this 67 cents per hundred, well, back when this was, that didn't come to a very large number. I'll give you an example. 11 years ago, we bought a house, we paid $51,000 for it. About 2 years ago, I sold that house for $133,000. I deal in houses, but I only deal in cash. And the thing is, can you imagine that 67 cents per hundred difference between 51,000 and 133,000?
I understand.
So, the other thing is the federal government has programs that they give to the schools, the mental hospitals, and all that kind of stuff. And they do have a clause in there that some of the money is allotted for safety features. And anyone that receives the federal money has to show that they've kept the upkeep on those safety features, or those funds will be stopped. And, so, you know, the safety in that, but the problem is when they put that along with, in other words, if you got this in one hand and this in the other hand, and one is for, because you want, the other is what you absolutely need. And then they won't keep them in each hand, they put them together in a ball and throw them.
They're
So
not
you
giving
don't know
you
what
a
direction to
choice.
go. Now, I agree. I'd like to see somewhere that we could do is, increase teachers and administrators of our education. I'd like to see their wages go up like, mine did when I, first became an accountant. I'd like to see them making that kind of wages. But guess what? I haven't seen anywhere that they've got any kind of a program trying to raise their wages, because, I'll say it, when I was in the service, we had, now this is a federal government, we had a lot of trainers, and I was one. But because of the facilities, I was training sometimes 100 men out on a grinder and trying to teach them something. Now, did I feel bad about it? Well, I thought I was getting underpaid, but guess what? When I went in the service, I made $70-some a month. When I left the service, I was making that a day. So, you know,
Inflation.
yeah. So that's just like right now.
So
The
when you
taxes
look,
they're receiving is a lot more, but this One thing worries me is the, fact that this is gonna be a program that will be running for the rest of existence.
Our enrollment is down as well. Seems to
And
be
the
a
bottom line is that the program will run forever.
Sam?
Yeah, I can certainly tell you that, I know a lot of people that just pulled their kids out of the school and are doing homeschooling, and I know more that are thinking about it, so there's something, there's gotta be a reason why they wanna pull their kids out of there. And once they start homeschooling, they're still wind up, you know,
They'll still,
footing the tax just like
Yeah.
everybody else. And like I say, my problem with this is just the basic concept of how this whole taxation for the schools is handled in the first place. You know, one of the things I've always said, the problem with taxation is that, for example, you own a home, you pay it off, and you're still paying a yearly rent, so you truly never own it. Just like your car, you truly never own your car, because you got yearly rent. And therein lies the problem, and I don't know why more people don't get that. People glaze over when you tell them that, but I didn't even get out of high school. I wasn't a math major, but I figured that
Like
out.
kindergarten, I understand that. I
Brandon.
did, I really did. I really did.
John, you wanted to say something?
Well, about the test scores earlier, I went to 3 different sites. Now, none of them were static. There was a percent or two difference, but it was all 40, anywhere from 40. Well, no, this where you're looking at school districts. You know, you go and you look at school districts in an area, and they give you the population, how many kids per class, blah blah blah. It stayed in that general area on 3 sites.
Oh, okay.
So that wasn't, I didn't pull that number and go, yep, that looks good to make it. Because again, we're not here to indict teachers and administrators and say they're doing an awful job. I understand the pressure that they're under, because most teachers are considered glorified babysitters. They're not educators. They ship your kid to school and take care of him, and if he gets a bad grade, it's your fault. I understand some of the pressure. But when you see it consistent across the state of Missouri, you see our 44 and 42% proficiency in reading and math, and you see that's top 50% in Missouri, then you know you have a systemic problem with education to begin with. But I'm with Sam. My issue lies in, we've had runs on banks. I heard today that the Fed could be printing a couple more $1 trillion maybe. So up goes inflation again.
Yeah.
We're in a very unstable environment right now, and I feel like right now is not the right time to say we want to drag your taxes out till 2044 and just everybody cross your fingers that you can pay your bill at the end of every year. When they did the water park years ago, there was a percentage of the amount of fixed incomes and low-income families in Owensville. That was a pretty good percentage. I am not personally comfortable with telling all those people, sorry, we're dragging your taxes out till 2044. I understand. I want kids to get an education. I want them to learn the things they need to learn so they can go to trade school, college, or go straight into the workforce. I would just rather see the priority be in education and not so much entertainment.
Yeah, really.
Now, I've heard, somebody told me yesterday, they said they could do graduation in this new building. That'll be up 600 people. I know there's probably a lot of things floating around out there. We don't know how much of this is actually true. I'm basing what I heard at the Gasconade County Club meeting from the superintendent. And, you know, when they list their priorities, and this is one of these things, folks, that when you look, you can go to any school district in Missouri, and you'll see, I don't know how many school bond issues I found this year. Like, we're lucky because Springfield's is $220 million. The wording, now that's legislative, we understand, but they do it the same way. The folks that helped us put this information together at their school district, they got 9 days notice. Nothing in the paper, no meetings. Blew up a flyer, went out 9 days before the vote and said, hey, vote yes to increase your taxes.
No.
Or for a no tax increase, sorry. for a school bond for, I think, $5.6 million. It happens in all the schools, they word everything the same, but what they want, they will list at the top, and a lot of the things below it are hopeful. They hope they can carry that money out to complete all the items, but normally, they can't. The other thing that bothers me is in the paper of May 23rd of last year, there was a gentleman from an entity in Springfield that came up, talked to the school board, talked to the school, and said, don't go for more than 14 million, and then come back in 5 to 6 years. That's also disturbing, because it sounds like, hey, you could do this 15, now they do 15, but in 5 to 6 years, they say, okay, we're gonna need $6 million more because we couldn't complete all the projects from the last bond. Now you're pushing it out maybe 2050. How long do you keep going before you say, you know what, it's time to like take a time out and figure out what the priority is? Is it education? Now, if a school is falling down, if you know the kids are unsafe, I have no problem passing a school bond to build a new school. Absolutely no issue, because I know they need it. But when you have wants and you have needs, and then you combine them all, like some of the other people said, I have a problem with that as well. I would rather say, let's take care of the needs, see how the economy does, maybe we revisit this, instead of everybody, you know, saying a Hail Mary and hoping that the economy doesn't take a huge dump and leave a lot of people in the dust.
Or leave the school that will take 2 to 3 years and leave it, well, we won't get the roof on or whatever, I don't know.
Well, or you have a lot of people leave the area because, you know.
Or people might just have to leave. There also, you can look at you can go on Gaston County officials' website to lease it's not Lisa, now it's Jennifer, isn't it?
Lisa.
Well,
For the sample ballot.
yeah, for the sample ballot, they're there now.
Yeah.
And you can read that language, is why I mentioned this.
Yeah.
A couple of things I'll shut up, but I agree with what this gentleman said.
Which
If
man?
I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
Steve.
As your services you offer dwindle, that's a big reason people leave. There's a big reason people come, is a well-rounded school district, and I know people, and I'm tainted on the Performing Arts Center, but believe it or not, there are people, when they look at a community, look at the whole picture, and that's part of it. There's probably, I'm underestimating, there's probably 240 kids, students, that are in that realm, maybe more.
And you're talking about, what, band?
Drama, band, choir, and that's elementary school through high school, so it's more than that, it's a big number. And then my last thing would be, we didn't know, I'm not responsible for the bond issue, but nobody knew this economic situation was gonna hit. I think we'll get through it, we've gotten through it before, but I will say, thank God for the people before us on school board administrators that bought that 100 acres to build the school complex, that made the decisions to do stuff that a lot of people are scratching their head, what are they doing that for? Well, that was a really good decision. Maybe not all were perfect, but, the other thing, keeping up with the Joneses, we want to stay ahead of the Joneses. Who cares about keeping up with the Joneses? Owensville's got, I put a post on Facebook, I took my grandkids to Merrimack Caverns, and the guy doing the tour guide is probably my age, and he's over from the Sullivan area. He asked my granddaughter where she was from. She said Owensville. He said Owensville's got great schools, and he said it serious to her. He's right, you know. And I know every community feels that way, but I think we do. And I know we've got some rough spots. I'm not gonna debate that with you. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I looked at my tax bill this evening. After I paid my school taxes, I had $420 left for the county and for the roads people and the sheriff and what to run the county on. Now, you think that's kind of a fair shake or not? I paid the school $1,514.
Hi, my name's William, and I don't know many people in here. I know Brandon, I know Sam. I've lived in the community for about 2 years. I've got a freshman, and I've got a middle schooler. And I will say, Owensville is a fantastic community, it's a fantastic school district. We're happy to be a part of it. I wish Dr. Hardy were here tonight. I didn't know the exact situation of this meeting, but I just wanted to hear sort of both sides of this. I want to understand where people are coming from, and I don't think that there are any bad motives to speak of. I think that everybody has a genuine interest in doing what's right for the community and what's right for the kids. My point that I'll make is this. I come from a much larger community that has a performing arts center, and some of the other things, bells and whistles. But after we all just experienced 2.5, 3 years of absolute bedlam through the pandemic. Whatever we experienced, our kids experienced that 10 times over. And I will say this, my own son that I've seen and his friends and the folks around him, our kids are struggling. I mean, I'm not here to harp on test scores. I think kids in general are struggling. You talk about basic general reading, writing, arithmetic. You ask a 10th grader right now to give you the 3 branches of government, and I'll be damned if he struggles with it, if he can give you anything at all. And I think that us talking about spending $15 million on a performing arts center, with all due respect, when the US dollar is literally on the verge of becoming not the global currency of the world, where banks are failing left and right. We don't know if gas prices are increasing. Hell, we don't know if the money's gonna be in the bank next Friday when we go to take it out. And I just would exercise caution. I personally am voting no on this. I think it's not a terrible item to have in the community, but I think it's a terrible time. I don't like the way that it was, you're absolutely right. Legislators are responsible for language, and I don't trust them either. I think that we have a lot of homework to do on this, and I will donate $100 of my money toward signage to say no. I will buy 100 no posters, and I will spend my time. I work from home. I'm the vice president of business development. I will spend my time putting no posters all over this town because I don't want to see Owensville. I moved here specifically for this quaint, quiet community. I don't want to see it go down the same path as I've seen other communities go down. And I appreciate everybody's time here tonight, but I just think it's horrible timing. And I think that you're absolutely right. Nobody knew this economy was going to crash the way that it is, and that's even more reason not to go deeper into the hell pit. So that's my
good job, Will.
This is not the first time they've used a deceptive language. They use it every time. It's designed for one reason, to make you think you're getting something for nothing.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's for. And I agree with some of these other people who are saying, this is not the time. I live in Gerald. We got 5 taxes on our ballot coming up next week. 5. How much is too much? To add another $15 million to debt that hasn't been paid off doesn't make sense to me. Pay it off and then come back for some more, but you're just adding another 20 years. The kids that are in kindergarten today won't, it won't be paid off when they get out of high school.
And they all move away.
So, but the deceptive language is just irks me.
A lot of people this evening have used the phrase keeping up with the Joneses. I personally know an educator that taught her career in the Parkway School District, going from an elementary school to middle school, finally to the high school, up into the administration, and when she retired, she's 58 years old now, she has a 6-digit retirement through the Parkway School District. Parkway School District is probably one of the largest school districts in St. Louis County. And as you can imagine, they have a tax base that supports that. We do want to keep up with education for our students. All my children are up and graduated, but like this gentleman, I too have 8 grandchildren that are going through it. Half of my grandchildren are being homeschooled. Half are being schooled in Florida. They have no state tax. They do it through a sales tax. I have 2 children who are in parochial school. They're paying parochial school prices, tuition, and their county tax scheme. So keeping up with the Joneses has a broad umbrella. Educational standards, student participation, student achievement, the arts, the shops, you name it. It all comes at a price. Not everybody will go to the technical end because colleges seem so attractive. College is being pushed. And if you're not aware of it, there's a proposal that we pay $20,000 of everybody's school tax, or college tuition. I myself have one college-educated student. I paid a little bit over $184,000. She studied abroad for 1 year. She studied in France for her French degree. She can speak the language of love to a lot of people who understand French, but her degree doesn't buy her nothing. So, I'm not against education. I'm against the wise penny spent for the wise penny's worth of worth. Not bells and whistles, but results. No kid is unteachable. There's different ways to reach every child, but he has to be willing. And when you collectively, tolerate that kids get passed year after year, not achieving the standards, some people are now doing away with standards. So tell me how your wise penny is being spent. Never want to see that happen. But the classes that are the most needed in today's world are things that they're going to deal with. You can't write a check. If you can't write cursive, you can't read cursive. If you can't read cursive, you can't read what the founding fathers said. They want you to be dumb for a purpose.
Yeah, right.
I'm voting no, if there was any doubt.
Betty?
I don't know how many of you watch Channel 2 News, but there's a school district in St. Louis that had a big bond, and they can't finish their building because they ran out of money. So if the building's been sitting there unfinished, and whatever the guy is that goes around, people get him to go after their problems. I can't think of his name. What's his name?
Elliot Davis.
Oh, Elliot. Oh, I love Elliot.
Elliot paid for it.
Yes,
Oh,
get
yeah.
what you pay for. Anyway, this was on TV a couple weeks ago. And I don't know, and I think that there's another school in the south, and I wish I could, it seems like it might have been Melville, but I'm not sure.
I think it's Normandy, isn't it?
Normandy?
Yeah, Normandy School.
Okay, maybe
yeah.
that's it. And what a pity. Now, what are they going to do? Are they going to go back and ask for more money, or, you know? And another thing to think about is, okay, 20 years. Is our school gonna need something else in that time period? Are we gonna have to go back and, yeah, I mean, I'm not even gonna be around in 20 years. So, you know.
I think you will.
I will.
So, you know, why should I care? But I do care. I do care, but, surely the school's gonna have some other needs in that time, and they're gonna have to come back again.
Well, and just, you know, kind of take your example, about going to a school.
Yeah. Rob, go ahead, I couldn't hear you.
But going to the school that she brings up, that is all unemployed capital. That's money that has been sunk, that is earning no return, financial or social otherwise. So I think it goes back to what this gentleman said about the risks that we're looking at here is, you know, if we vote for this bond issue, we sink the money. you know, what kind of return is it going to bring? I think that's another suspicious element of this, call it investment issue. Right now, everything in the economy, we don't know if this thing's gonna bear fruit. If it actually does, unfortunately, we wouldn't have a situation like she described where it doesn't get completed. It just seems way too risky at this time.
I talked to my one son today, and I think he's wise about some things, not others. But I told him the cost of this project, and he goes, yep, that's the construction companies milking the public and the taxpayers. So nobody's blaming the school, but we have another aspect of this is why I know things are expensive, but why that expensive? You know, and I feel that.
What isn't expensive?
What?
What isn't expensive?
Well, correct.
Eggs are even expensive.
But.
Right.
One of the things that would have been nice, they have it, what are the expenses? You know, what are some of these construction people getting an hour? $1,000 an hour, an hour?
I doubt it.
I don't know, I'm just saying,
A little large.
I don't know the answer to that, I'm just saying. Lane, you've been
That's
very.
kind of what my big problem is, there's no, breakdown of what stuff, an estimated cost of what everything's gonna cost. There's no breakdown of what kind of fuel they're gonna use to, heat the thing. I know there's gonna be electric for the, air conditioning. The other day, I saw an oil truck there at the, EMS, I guess it was, or the OMS, and I saw a propane truck there at the same time. And I just kinda don't understand why our school is heating with oil and propane, not, natural gas or electricity. I just don't get that, there's
The
two
middle school
different.
does have solar
Pardon?
panels, the middle school does have solar panels, they did actually get a grant a few years ago for that.
Well, that's
project.
great, but why do they got an oil truck?
Oh, what kind of oil truck, all I know of is propane,
There was,
natural gas and.
Mount Sterling Oil was backing into the school, I saw it, my wife saw it.
Yeah.
Is it for the buses?
Could it have been gas though?
No, it was
It could have been diesel fuel.
Diesel.
They do have it, they
Well,
have a
maybe that's
diesel,
what it
they
was.
do have,
Okay.
but the diesel is
But this was
down,
at the OMS school.
yeah,
Yeah,
the diesel's
it's all
down
propane.
behind the high
Well,
school by the bus
he's
barn.
backing that truck in.
That's where the pump is.
It's all propane, but it is kind of, I understand what you're saying about it.
Well, I noticed in the paper here, I don't know, last week or 2 weeks, that the school's gonna, start taking in 3- and 4-year-old kids. And
I think that's part of this is they're doing
we're
a
gonna leave that
preschool
lay
program
right now,
too.
but we will need some money for that in a short time. We need it.
So they're hoping to get a grant, if for some reason this is the way my understanding of it is, like they're hoping to get the grant, but if it doesn't come, and then they'll take the money out of this new bond for that, I believe. But they're still hoping to get the grant, but once they set this up, it will increase reducing in the enrollment that's going down, that'll help increase it back up. But then there's gonna be all the upkeep, and then the school's responsible, the taxpayer is responsible for keeping this program going. And now, where does grant money come from again?
Taxes.
Oh, taxes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, so if they do that, what's gonna happen to the Head Start that's over on industrial, that,
Oh, yeah, see, I don't know. Anyway, anything else, Betty?
Yes, I'll be quick. This is my big beef. Why give free childcare to 3 and 4 years old? Have they thought about the community? My family has no childcare services anymore. They did at one time. But have they thought about the community, the businesses in the community, what they're doing to them? The school should work with the community.
The problem is there's no development for those little kids. That, I can get behind 100% of preschool expansion. Our
Okay.
little kids, there's only so many daycares in the town. You can't fit the number, there's not enough supply and demand. There's more kids than there are daycares. I'm 100% for preschool expansion. I had kids that couldn't get into a preschool program, and it's hard. They go into
Puts the
kindergarten
burden on the
and
parents who
it's a
take care.
mess. Teachers spend a whole year trying to get these kids wrangled and get them going just to pass them on to first grade. I don't know that it's a babysitting. I mean, early childhood development is a necessity, period. And it's going, my understanding after talking to Gene Baker last week, that's passing regardless. What's in the bond for that is play equipment and some other things. They're using existing classrooms in the school to expand that, and they've already hired the staff for that, according to the information I've received. I'm not sure how that's happening. Moving the chess pieces is also what I've understood. But early childhood development is a must around here. I mean, the deficits in little kids are astonishing.
Thank you.
I will vote no,
Thank you.
but I'm all for preschool expansion, let me tell you.
I wish I had brought my Constitution, and then I would defy somebody to find the Department of Education in it.
Right.
Absolutely.
It ain't.
I got one. Brad, the teacher back there, I'm just curious, Brad, I know you had, acquaintance with it before, but does the Owensville High School or middle school or whatever, do they use the community theater a lot, or is that
No.
just a totally separate thing?
It's separate. They have the drama department uses the old gym. And when my daughter was in school a few years ago, one of the old school members that was the drama teacher, she put a lot of time and money and got grants and funding to improve that for the drama. They have a huge sound system. They put dampening on the roof and the walls so that they could get the sound back, because it's an old gym. And then they got these magnificent chairs for you to sit in. So I mean, I know there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in that existing gym just for the drama department. So that's the other thing that I didn't understand with the performing arts, is that somebody's already put the time and effort into the existing equipment and had it improved. That I understand that it's not just for the drama. I don't understand, I was also told that they're moving both the band and the choir to this building too. What's gonna happen to the huge band room / choir room that was built with the gym that they've been in for the last 20 years? With all of the dampening and so on and so forth.
It's the gym, the workout, the weight room will go to the band room. The weight room will become one of my classrooms. And
Yes, because
then
originally
new
the
one would be-
originally the weight room is the detention room is at the very
Yeah,
end
so
of the
they would
building.
go to-
I don't know why
they
they
would go
thought that was gonna work, but, okay.
So, and I respect all y'all's decision. I'm actually glad I came. There's no telling what might get put in the newspaper for it's over. But I'm glad I came, and some of you guys make great points. I totally get it. But the way this kind of started out is kind of like this meeting. I feared if this group would have been us against, if there had been more time, and you'd have been the head of it, and it'd say, hey, we have a group that wanna meet with the district. And I think it could have been a lot more productive than Owensville Talks and a chimichanga or whatever the thing was called. But that was just crazy there. But one thing that you did call, when we talk about deceptive language, the ESSER money keeps getting referred to as bailout money. That is, you can call it whatever you want, you can watch the world news. That ESSER money the federal government sent to every school, you can't refuse it.
Right.
But it was how you received an amount, $3.1 million to the Gaston County Owensville School District. Other school districts your same size received 15 and 18 million because they went on what the community's, what the level of income was. So it wasn't, the Gaston County School District did not have to get that money because they needed bailed out. They got that money because the federal government said you're taking it. So it's not bailout money. They didn't have to have it to write teachers' checks the next week.
Right, but that's what it's called, with
It's
bailout.
ESSER funds, and
It's
for
what
schools,
fund?
ESSER funds, and for schools, if you'll go to DESI and look under MSIP 6, Cause you can go on there to buy a house on realtor.com or whatever, and it'll give you all kinds of wild scores. If you'll go to DESE, look at MSIP6, it'll give you the actual scores that belong to the school district. Your school district's not in the top 50% because they're not getting taught. I understand there's some kids that struggle. I have a kid that could not read myself in a district that my wife worked in for several years. I fought that battle. I've been there. I know what that feels like when they look at you and say, well, you've gotta get more help or whatever. But in general, your kids are getting a better education than anywhere around this area, I can guarantee you. Your school district's not weak.
Thanks. On the last page, I don't think I read this, so I am gonna read this. It's a disclaimer. If there are any misinterpretations that were written here, inaccuracies, this was done to the best understanding, not just me, but, maybe several of us, community people, let's put it that way. So I apologize, and it was not meant to do that. So you can do your own math and do your own research, because it's really hard to do, this stuff. Yes, Sean?
Yeah, I appreciate listening to everybody because I see everybody's views clearly. But my opinion is just play on the caution side when it comes to fiscal responsibility. I just believe in paying off a bond or a debt before you start a new one.
Yes.
And Owensville School's a great school because I got a granddaughter goes to Marys County School. That's a piece of trash that school is. It's fallen in, walls are caving. I mean, it's horrible. Roaches are all over the place. We got a great school district here. But education-wise, as far as reading cursive, basic checkbook, reading, writing arithmetic, I see kids struggling all the time. I brought some into the courthouse just when the kids come through the school and had them do basic tasks, they couldn't even alphabetize, put stuff in order.
What age were those kids?
And
Just curiosity.
they came with the FFA, they were high schooler kids.
So, yeah.
And so I was really upset with that. They couldn't read the cursive writing, they couldn't sign. That needs to be a priority, and so does security in the school, along with fixing the road in front of the high school and Highway 19. I drive that every day. You're constantly locking up your brakes. People are pulling out in front of you. That is a priority in my eyes, even though I can see where everything else would be needed down the road, but not with the way the economy's going and what we're dealing right now with our country and the world.
With the gas tax we're paying, they shouldn't have a problem fixing that.
Yeah.
So there's, in this day and age, look at what's happened to all of us, the kids and all of us in the past few years. I mean, we've had a lot of everything thrown at us like the kitchen sink, and it's still happening. We don't know what's gonna happen. So everybody's been kind of, I think, stressed. Sam, did you wanna say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask a couple of questions here, not having any kids in the school myself, but let me ask you this. You know, a lot of the problems that we've been having as to why things have been going downhill is, this has been happening for years, even since I was in school, so I know how education has systematically gone downhill, and with the Department of Education coming into existence, that made it even worse. Now, the other problem you got is this Common Core that was pushed into schools. Was that in this school too?
Mm-hmm.
There's one of your problems right there. And
But it's a federally funded school.
Yeah, so
see,
it's a
there's the
government
problem.
school.
It's a government school.
Yeah, it's a government
And as a
school.
government school, it's gonna have to do what the government wants, and that's another beef that I've had with all this, because I made a prediction, and I made this right in front of the city council here a while back. I told them, now it may get stopped because there's legislation that's fixing to be passed at the state capitol to stop this from happening. But I stated right in front of the city council, I said, unless something changes, you're gonna have all this transgenderism and all this other stuff coming into the school, all this stuff like what they have up in Columbia, where it's literally so bad that you got kids who are behaving as if they're animals, and they're putting litter boxes in the bathrooms of the schools for these kids. This is nonsense, and yet it's going on in the schools, and I guarantee you, If it's a government school, they will be pushing it. And this is my beef with public education just in general.
Don't grants tie you into more of that federal funding, to make you
Grants,
apply?
yeah.
Yep.
Your free lunch program is grant, federal government.
Who pays for those grants again, did you say? Who pays for those grants?
Oh, that would be us, the deep
That's
first
us,
people.
yeah.
The Federal
First
Reserve.
people. Yeah.
Shirley,
Hi, my name is Shirley, and I love living in. This is on a very personal note here. My husband, it took him 6 years to talk me into moving here. I'm a St. Louis transplant, that's the way I put it. I went to McClure High School.
Oh, it will.
I can't write cursive legible. I still can't, and I'm 72 freaking years old.
That's why, cause you're 72, your hand doesn't work as well.
But, well, I've never been able
I'm
to write
joking, I
cursive
was-
good. But I wrote it better as I was younger, of course. But what I'm bringing this up for is I can remember kids in my school that, number one, could not read and couldn't spell. That is a stumbling block for me, because I have dyslexia. And most kids in St. Louis cannot spell and they can't read. And someday we were at church and my adopted granddaughter was there and I was talking about Israel. She goes, Israel, where's that? I said, that was where Jesus was raised. She honestly didn't know. And I'm like, and this is Gasconade County kid that I'm talking about. See, our grandkids are they're all over the place. We got 2 in California, we got 3 in Wisconsin, and we got, 3
I got a couple grandkids in Kansas.
in, yeah, a couple of grandkids and one great grandkid in Kansas, and, a whole bunch in Missouri. And so they're not here in this district, but they can all read and write and arithmetic. Good. In fact, the youngest one is fixing to graduate high school end of May. And we're gonna be coming back from our cruise, so we won't be able to go to the party, but, oh well, that's some of those lines. But, when that little girl in my church didn't have any idea where Israel was,
how old was the little girl about?
I knew you were gonna ask me that, how old she is.
Or what grade is she in?
See, it's not my granddaughter, it's my adopted granddaughter. I think she's 3rd or 4th, I'm not sure. But it just freaked me out, because in my own school district that I live in now, I'm like,
Respectfully,
She doesn't know.
you'd be surprised, there are high schoolers who don't know where Israel is. I mean, when I tell you, I have been absolutely blown away. I didn't come down here because I don't have better things to do. I cannot believe that, and I'm not harping on Owensville or Gasconade County, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah.
But why do we accept that the bar is so low and say, well, kids are just dumb everywhere, that's just how it is. We have an opportunity to make the community better, and I think it starts with the school and more, the program centered around home economics, math, some of the things that Mr. Hardy, is that right? Okay, some of the things that Mr. Hardy was talking about, kids can't read a tape measure, kids can't read a book, they can't read a lot of things, and I think.
Make change.
They can't make change, they can't read a book, they struggle emotionally, there's all this craziness going on. I just think that and I don't know whether it'll pass or not, I hope it doesn't, but if it does, it does. My point is, I think that the school and the community would be better served if we are very cautious about how we move forward in the economy right now, and we somebody made a great point. What happens if there are needs in 3 years? What happens if there is a huge, we've gotta go back for some reason?
Well, it's on the ballot, I mean, read that ballot,
I've read it, yeah,
you saw that, right, that
I did,
you know what'll happen,
I did.
but you were next.
One of the other things that I did when I was fifth state, I worked in the mental health department for 20 years. We were talking about our children. A child, if you can, sometimes you have to do one-on-one, but it's very hard for teachers to do that. But I guarantee you that any child can be taught, because I taught mentally retarded children,
Yes.
and I was successful at it. But in the beginning, I started just to get them to roll a ball back to me. Took me like 2 or 3 weeks. And that's the simple thing, me roll a ball to them, and finally get them to roll it back. But I worked on that and worked on it. And after 6, 7, 8 months, I had a child that couldn't do nothing, was even starting to learn to speak. Mentally retarded. And they classified, the doctors classified the psychiatrists. They classified the child as having about a 3-year-old mental capacity. But repetition will teach anybody anything. That's how I learned most of what I learned.
So we have organizations that do that.
Oh, yes.
They take the, I won't say less than whole, but the handicapped,
Mentally challenged.
And
Yeah,
mentally
mentally
challenged, thank you. And we have programs that do that. We just talked about what our kids can't do as far as geography, mathematics, reading. I guarantee you the emphasis today is on pronouns. And that, when a school board addresses it or entertains it, that's the beginning of your failures right there.
Yeah,
Because
amen.
now you have confused the issue.
It robs the kids of a good education for what they really need.
Absolutely.
Keep in mind, this is an April election, so voter turnout will probably be low, so whether you are for it or against it, whoever campaigns the hardest for or against it is gonna win, because it's not gonna take much.
The signage issue, the $100 offer,
He's left.
We
Oh,
just,
okay. For those who remain, go to your grocery store, ask for a cardboard box, turn it inside out, stick it to the ground, big check mark, vote no.
No.
Plain and simple. Or, if you're of a mind to vote yes, vote yes. I'm not here to, I'm here to try and influence for a no vote. But if you believe that it needs to be a yes vote, by all means, because I as well have donated a big portion of my life to defending that flag. You can't always get that flag to be honored in our schools. Maybe not Owensville, maybe not Gasconade County, but the issue of that flag is pertinent. It's daily in St. Louis County, and I swear I never thought St. Louis County would be like that. But that's not displayed. This is the school board, the school bond issue. It starts at our lowest level. This is where we get represented. And if you don't let your voice be heard, then you're gonna be walked all over. Because they will bring in individuals that are capable of persuading the uninformed to see the issue the way they want it shown.
Lane.
Okay, I've heard everybody's opinion tonight, whether you're for or against it, that's your business. But I'd like to ask Mr. Harvey, does everybody's talking about education of the kids. Well, does the school district have any standards for the parents? I mean,
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah,
I
I'm serious.
wish we could, because 85% of them would get it out.
well, no, it's what I'm saying.
That's
Is there any requirements
The teachers would do.
Why
Isn't there any requirements that the parents have to teach the kids anything? I mean, you should give them some kind of a checklist for when the kid comes. Well, don't laugh at me, sir. Don't laugh at me.
I totally agree.
I mean, when these kids go to school, they ought to be able to time shoot, know where they live, what their name is, what their telephone number is, and stuff like that. You know, I don't have a problem with any kid getting education, but it's very,
Okay.
I mean, that's a serious question.
I'm thinking 3 and 4 year old.
Parents are sometimes.
Why
I don't know who said it earlier, but someone said that the only way for a child.
I'm just talking about the parents teaching kids, basically. How, you don't even know the damn.
Okay, it's getting late, I think John wants to say one last thing. I appreciate what everybody has said, and I appreciate you coming, because I really felt like I had a nail sticking out of my head when I came here. And I think it's gonna get pounded in probably by the newspaper.
I would just like to add one thing. I have been actively going to the Capitol in Jefferson City, working with a grassroots organization on different legislation here in the state to either lower or eliminate certain taxes, to kill bad laws, and to promote good laws. I would ask each and every one of you to pay attention to what is going on at the Capitol. To call your state rep, call Bruce Sassman if he's in your district, call Ben Brown, your senator, if he's in your district, and voice your concerns, because we've got a hell of a lot of good legislation sitting at the Capitol, but we've got some leadership that wants to balk.
Right.
And wants to, well, they want to be rhinos. If they're Republicans, they want to act like a rhino. We need to apply heavy pressure to certain individuals in the Capitol to get things done, to nullify what the federal government has done to the states. We have the ability to nullify some of these things and set Missouri on a completely different course than a lot of other states choose to take. And we could end up nullifying things on education, taxation, so many things, but it does take. You don't all have to drive up to the Capitol. Believe me, the last group that went up was 28, and they were blown away that many people showed up to walk the halls. But a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails, and let me tell you, if your state rep gets 40 phone calls or emails on an issue, they stand up and they take notice. And I would just ask, if we're going to fix education, we can't point at one school. The state is going to have to step in the right way, and we're going to have to convince them that the best way is to learn or to lean towards more local control, where the parents and the school board may directly, move the curriculum in the right direction. Because if we're going to wait on the feds to do it, we know what the feds are going to teach them.
They're gonna drag their feet.
Yep, and they're
Well,
gonna,
they've got an agenda.
and they gotta trash it.
And it's not so much that, like we've been saying, we're a community. We know what we need and what we want, especially our teachers and our school board know where we're lacking. If they can decide what the curriculum is and teach a child how to read a tape measure, write, balance a checkbook, write cursive, instead of having to have somebody in Washington D.C. tell us what we need to do here.
Yeah, we gotta get local control back at school, taxation, whatever issue you can think of that will infringe on your freedoms. Contact your rep and your senator, and voice your opinion. Let them know the issues that are important to you. Ben Brown is outstanding. I think Sassman's a little squishy, that's my personal opinion, but Ben Brown is outstanding, and he will listen to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so you will get some results, and you will get feedback, especially from Ben. Bruce has returned some phone calls as well and emails, but that's the thing I can't stress the most, is we've got to get more active here at our local level up to the state, because I believe the feds are a lost cause. That's a dumpster fire that you can't put out. So let's make Missouri, more free and more economically better. And then we can just give the one finger salute to the feds all the time, and they can do whatever they want.
Absolutely.
And real quick, John's right on. Do the same thing with local school board. If you got concerns about if it's propane or oil, go to school board meeting. Go to Dr.
It's
Hardy's
made-
office,
it's
get all of
posted,
you,
it's
go
posted.
sit down with them and ask. I mean, I don't
Well,
know the
also,
answers, but.
I'm guilty for not going to, but they have school board minutes written each month, and honestly, I hadn't been looking, so I'm guilty. But sometimes people are just struggling, they have their own schedules and agenda. We just can't do everything, but yeah, you can go on their website, and there it is, all the minutes, and if you go back, you see a lot of this stuff that all of a sudden we think just happened, but it didn't necessarily, you know. So it's getting late, and I appreciate it. If anybody wants to leave me their email, that, if you want more information on,
I have one final note. I spent